what is staking? What does it mean?
Staking is a consensus mechanism. And it is, people will be familiar with proof of work on Bitcoin. It's a conversion of energy into compute, which allows you as a participant to mine new blocks, to add new blocks to the blockchain. And in reward for doing so, some of the newly issued Bitcoin and the transaction tips, some of the transaction tips or fees paid to transact on the Bitcoin blockchain end up accruing back to the person whose energy was used to solve that block. Now, proof of stake sort of takes that concept, but sort of changes the dynamic a little bit. So as opposed to contributing energy into what we call finality, settlement finality in the blockchain space, you can actually participate as a token holder in that particular token. So Ethereum switched from proof of work to proof of stake 2 years ago, which is actually a very, very big deal. Solana is a native proof of stake token, proof of stake blockchain. Tezos is actually, I think, the first, what I would say, like instance of proof of stake in use. And basically, if you own the token, you can delegate that token to that network in order to validate blocks. So as opposed to contributing energy, you're effectively locking up your tokens. Now you're not sending them to anyone else. You're not, redistributing them or sharing custody with someone else. You're just effectively staking those tokens to a validator, and that validator is helping solve puzzles also that end up leading into, kind of building blocks of transactions. And without that function, blockchain would just be kind of a mess of different transactions, and people would have a completely different view of like what the state of the network is. State being how much Ethereum I have versus how much Ethereum Colton has. It plays a very critical role in sort of organizing and validating transactions that are taking place. And in return, the real incentive is that stakers are earning the rewards. So reward being, like I was saying, for Bitcoin miners in the Ethereum Solana space, it's transaction fees. And there's also a couple of other ways that that stakers are incentivized beyond a Bitcoin miner, and so they're earning new network issuance, so network inflation, so newly minted Solana, newly minted Ethereum, on top of the fees, the tips that they're being paid to validate transactions. And each network has a very different way, has different inflation rates. They have different transaction fees, transaction costs, different elements of that. But the average rewards rate that someone would earn is probably somewhere around 5 to 7%. Ethereum, it's a little bit lower, about 3.5%. Things like Polkadot, it's really high, like high 20%. But really, that's the sort of the annualized amount that someone is basically earning from locking up their tokens, participating in settlement finality, and really, the trade-off between liquidity versus earning rewards. That's kind of how I think about it at a high level.
Yeah, no, that's great, Josh. I think the only thing to add to that is that when we're talking about staking in this context, we're talking about protocol staking. So this is you're holding a coin that's native to the blockchain you're interacting with, locking that coin up and coining it at a validator who is validating transactions, earning rewards, and is also susceptible to a concept called slashing, which I'll just touch on really quickly. But when we talk about validators and their role on these different blockchains, we say they're validating the transactions in every block that comes in. But to a lot of people that may or may not make a lot of sense. So like at a high level, each of these validators is running the same or similar software. And what that software is doing is saying these are the rules of the protocol, these are the rules of the blockchain.